Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are building a life with the choices you repeat, not with bricks or timber, but with effort, habits, and the quiet decisions nobody else sees. We often believe discipline is enough. Wake early, work hard, stay consistent, and surely life will reward us. But life carries truths that are not always easy to accept, because sometimes a person can appear hardworking, responsible, even disciplined, and still remain standing in the very same place. Today's story is about a young farmer whose discipline earned the respect of everyone around him, yet whose life refused to move forward. It is a story about effort, comfort, and a truth that often hides beneath both. As you listen, perhaps one question may quietly follow you. Are you truly growing? Or have you simply become comfortable inside the life you already know? Stay with the story till the very end, because its lesson arrives quietly, but rarely leaves once understood. In a dry farming village bordered by dusty roads and scattered neem trees, there lived a young farmer named Soren. People respected him. Old women praised his manners. Farmers admired his reliability. Children often saw him already working while the morning sky still carried stars. Soren woke before sunrise, tied his sandals, carried his tools across his shoulder, and walked the same narrow path toward his father's fields every single day. He kept careful notes inside a worn notebook stained by dirt and weather. Planting dates, rain patterns, expenses. He rarely missed work and never wasted daylight. Yet behind that admired discipline lived a frustration he spoke of to no one. While other farmers slowly changed their fortunes, Soren's life stood strangely still. His family hut still leaked during heavy rain. Debt remained folded inside a wooden box beneath his mother's bed. Some evenings he sat beside their cooking fire counting coins twice, hoping numbers might somehow multiply through patience. Meanwhile, the village changed around him. One farmer purchased another acre of land. Another began selling produce in distant markets. A younger man Soren once taught to plant seedlings now hired laborers of his own. Soren congratulated them politely and returned to his own fields, carrying a feeling he could never name. What troubled him most was not hardship, but confusion. Lazy men failed for reasons they understood. But Soren worked hard, so why did his disciplined life feel trapped like a wheel spinning inside mud? His routine looked admirable. He planted familiar crops, worked familiar soil, avoided waste, avoided mistakes, and without realizing it, he avoided discomfort too. At the market, he accepted weak prices rather than negotiate and risk rejection. When merchants from larger towns visited, he allowed louder farmers to speak while he stood behind his grain sacks pretending silence suited him. He considered himself patient, careful, disciplined, but slowly patience became shelter. Then came the storm. It arrived during harvest season without warning, dark clouds rolling across the sky while farmers shouted and rushed through the fields, securing crops beneath tarps. Soren saw trouble coming, but hesitated. Nearby farmers called to one another for help, yet he remained silent beside his own harvest. Asking for help felt uncomfortable. Exposing need felt heavier than carrying burden alone. By the time he forced himself to act, rain had already flattened part of his crop into mud. That night, he sat alone inside the storage shed, staring at ruined produce, while water dripped steadily from the roof. Months of labor lay spoiled before him. For the first time in years, anger broke through his calm. He hurled his notebook against the wall and watched pages scatter across wet ground. All his careful schedules and tidy plans suddenly looked powerless beside the wreckage. It was there that an elderly farmer named Soren entered quietly. Soren was known across the village not for wealth, but for surviving droughts that had broken stronger men. He picked up one soaked page and studied it beneath the lantern light. "You write carefully," he said. Soren said nothing. After a long silence, Olin asked, "Tell me, when was the last time you did something that frightened your pride?" The question settled heavily between them. Then Olin handed back the notebook and added softly, "You work hard, boy, but only inside fences you built yourself." Those words followed Soren for weeks. Slowly, he began noticing uncomfortable truths. His discipline lived where certainty lived, so he tried something small without announcing it. At the market, he forced himself to bargain, his voice uneasy and awkward. Later, he asked Olin to teach him unfamiliar irrigation methods and felt embarrassed making mistakes beside younger farmers. Another week, he traveled to a distant market and nearly turned back before arriving. Not everything worked. One experiment failed and wasted seed. One trader dismissed him entirely. Some evenings he returned home discouraged, wondering if discomfort was all he had gained. But before money changed, something else did. He spoke more openly, asked harder questions, took risks he once avoided. His failures still hurt, but they no longer felt empty. Months later, standing beside healthier fields at dusk, while wind moved softly through the crops, Soren looked across the land and noticed something unfamiliar resting inside him. Not certainty, not triumph, just movement. And for the first time, that felt enough.